All right. So, where were we? We just did negatives, huh? Some people will be filtering in, I'm sure. I did some work on my own. So, last time we had this idea of EGAB to circle was going to be our verb for states. I made a little edit to that because to me it felt like to circle did not really work for when you have like the state that you are in, right? Something like stand or lie, that works a lot better when you're talking about the state that you're currently in. Um, so, my idea was we had uh, eti, eti, it means to stand, and where was my word for lie? To lie. We had Andy, okay? And I was thinking, okay, maybe we could have these three different ones for different kinds of states or for different like colors to the meaning. And then I thought, wait a minute. I can take these all and turn them into one verb. And that's the choice that I went with. And I reduced all of them phonetically so that these full ones exist still, but they also have these reduced forms that ended up becoming the copula. They all got put together, and um, for now I'm doing the head word is on. I don't really have an idea of what my citation form for my dictionary actually is going to be, and that may be something that we work on as we're finishing up the language and decide, okay, because right now my head words are just like roots, but now I have a a verb that has different sources. So the default is on, coming from anti to lie down. And that is for imperfective, like your default form, the gnomic. So you get gan and gancha, but you don't get ganaji, ganaji. Instead, for irrealis, you have a root that's derived from this igab. It's ig. So you end up with gigaji, bigaji, tigaji, abigaji, abigaji, gigaji. Um, so that felt right because so to circle when you are circling something, that's the metaphor I'm thinking of is that this is potential action, right? Um, a dragon is circling something because they are watching it and they are waiting for the right moment to strike. So that fits very well with an irrealis. This 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 is you could be in this state, right? And then the perfective, I just felt like standing is a more like solid posture and a more like active posture, even though you're standing still. And it felt right to put that for the perfective verbs. So you get getcha, techa, ube, ubecha, betcha, drecha, getcha. And it is very interesting that we end up with it doesn't it is interesting that we actually end up with like three different um um well, you can see in the third person singular you end up with three different um settings for the vowel harmony because this the a is neutral and it allows the underlying I to surface here. Here you have a root that is uh, what did we call them? It was a lax vowel root, right? And it becomes right? Here we have a tense root and it becomes again, right? So lots of interesting stuff happening there, and this is how suppletion happens. By the way, an example from English is go and went. So go and wend were two different verbs, but we got the present tense forms from go and the past tense forms from wend and stuck them together. I think wend actually still exists as an independent verb. It's just kind of old fashioned. Um, but so go and wend becoming went because that's the past tense form got stuck together. Um, so we can have a similar thing like for that, and in this case have some irregular reduction to further distance from these original source verbs. Um, and another wrinkle to this is that this is, so I say it's like Spanish estar, but it's not exactly like estar, because estar is also to be in a location, and this is not also not going to be in a location. There's no, the way I'm doing that is there is no specific verb for to be in a location. You have to have a posture either standing or lying, and you can have circling too, and that's going to require a postposition of some sort for the argument. Um, with postposition, right? Yeah. Whatever postposition works for the context, right? But you can't, you don't have any dedicated verb. You have to have to specify whether you are standing or lying. Um, that those parts haven't been folded in. And then the last piece of this is that this by reducing the verbs, I also, when I reduced the verbs, I also thought it would make sense to actually eliminate the postposition requirement. And so instead of that, since it was interesting to have that imagery of like the hovering over, right, the circling over something, I decided to just give a second meaning to egab, and I could add more meanings as we go on. Of well, we have to circle, and we have to circle over something in a related reading, a related meaning of to consider something. You are circling over a decision. This is getting at that metaphor of the dragon circling and that representing a potential action. So that exists also in the meaning of igab, but also in the way that igab got incorporated into this verb. So that's stuff that I've been doing on my own. Also, if you are at currently, I have it available for people who are $5 and up on the Patreon. Um, I have a sister language to Ndăkaga that I just did a quick 6-minute video. I'm gonna try to get video updates like every week on development of that, but it's going to be a sister language spoken by serpents, which can be a broad category, but sort of think of like sea serpents or giant snake creatures and lake monsters and all kinds of things like that. And that's going to be just the idea that Draconic has a sister language is going to be a bit more like specific in world building than what I'm doing with Ndăkaga proper. But that could end up giving me some loan words into this language. So it may end up coming to affect uh, what we're doing here. So anyway, we are here. We've gotten into constructions, which is sort of my last section of proper grammar stuff, right? Constructions are syntax, basically. And so we've figured out our negative construction. It's kind of weird because we rolled kind of weird, and I went over how I have doubts about Graham-Bake's data there. Um, I'm not going to go on a big rant this time because I know what I'm doing. But there was some issues coming with the next thing. But first thing we're going to do today is we're going to figure out how questions are formed, and we can ignore anything below here because this is going to be because like well I suppose I can figure out something for that. I had to fudge. Yeah, I had to fudge to get up to 100. And I might find a way to let's see if we actually editing my dice table live. That's always super fun. Let's say if we did a cutoff that anything that's below 10 we're not going to use. Then we could edit this so that it only goes to G15, is it? Oh, this is annoying. So G2. So I know that there's a way to let's just do it this way. Right. And then just to give us a little bit of room, and then we're gonna hold these in place and copy that down. Yeah, that's not going to work out right. I'm just going to roll it the way it is, and that can be something I work on in the future. There's a place that I haven't shared this, by the way. So, yeah. Uh, yeah. But anyway, so let's just roll based on this. If I get 100, then I'm going to figure out what that means live and decide on that. Yes, Fifi?
Look at my fake nails.
They're very wonderful.
And
They're
my
very
paintball
pretty.
Daniel.
Okay. Daddy is streaming right now. So, but I really like your fake nails. Did mommy put them on for you?
I put them on.
You
They,
put them on by yourself?
yes, and they keep falling off.
Oh, that's a problem, isn't it? Okay, well, you just be careful with them. Excuse my daughter. um, well, I just went over some things that I changed, Topher, but some things that I did. But right now, we're going to figure out how to do questions. And I'm going to roll dice, and hopefully I don't get anything super strange. Oh no! Is this David or Jesse who's online? We're not. We're. I don't. If they incidentally come on, that's fine. But but I'm not really wanting to put my daughters on camera. So when they pop in, they will be off screen unless they decide. Yes, polar questions specifically. Yeah. Oh, it's David. Hey, David. We don't have actually. So Grandbank doesn't seem to have any features relating to WH questions, question word questions. It just has the polar questions, which are yes no questions. So we're probably going to have to wing it when we just do the question word. But I mean, there's only so many things, and some of the, like one of the features involved with polar questions would affect probably how question words questions are worked. So I got 33. So we've got 33, and that means on our thing that's between 27 and 39. Oh, well, that's great. So what that means is polar questions are marked by intonation only, and there's no other marking. So that ended up being very quick versus my working on negatives, like trying to figure out how to do that. So let's think about like how that's going to work. Do we, just for simplicity's sake, I mean, does anyone know about like, are there questions that are marked with intonation in languages that do anything other than the English global rise, and like English has a global rise and like a quick fall on the last unit. I think there are languages that just have like a global rise. I think just a global rise would probably work. Just a rise versus a fall. So we can have questions. Questions. I have never, see, I would never actually, David has said yes. And the lag is such that I don't know what he's saying yes to exactly. Okay, so do we even need our own heading? Yes, no. Yeah. Polar questions are marked with yeah. It's really interesting. So the dice make me go places I wouldn't go, because typically I would go for a clearly marked question strategy, probably a particle. Um, uh, yeah. 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 You know what? This might be something that I need to research a little bit more in order to. Um, so we know polar questions are marked with intonation. Um, I will figure out exactly what the intonation patterns are like. Um, we could have like we could probably have a whole lot of different ways to do that, but I probably need to read up on that a little bit in order to have an informed choice. Um, but we can say uh, word questions. I don't have any features there, but given that polar questions are marked only with intonation, then the number one thing I would expect is that similarly, like lacking in marking, the WH questions are going to be WH in situ. This means that instead of so in English we tend to front the question word. You say, "What did you get?" Um, um, rather than "You got what." You got what is like a marked structure in English. In Chinese, that's exactly what you do. Is you just leave it in place. 你买了什么? You bought you what did you buy? 你买了什么? You bought what? It's actually you bought something too. Uh, the F words. Yeah, a WH word. I'm just defaulting to that, even though it is a very Anglo-centric term. I'm sure if we were doing Spanish, we could call them the que words or something like that. If we were Chinese is all over the place, but anyway. So I would say they're in situ. Um, they may or may not have exactly the same intonation pattern as the polar questions. I think sometimes there can be variation there. Um, but I think the question that we will have is are our question words different from the regular indefinite pronouns? I think that's indefinite pronouns. So in English, we have a distinction between what and something, or um, or what is it? Uh, Not why. Why is weird. Okay. We have a dis. Yeah, like how and well, how is the same, but what and something, or who and someone. Uh, Not all languages do that. In Chinese, they're the same. Shay means who. It also means someone. Um, Shenma means what. It also means something. Um, Zhenma means how, and it also well, it's both hows. It breaks down when you get to the adverbial ones. The adverbial ones are weird wherever you go. Um, oh, Nali, Nali, means where, and it also means somewhere. Okay, so that's the first question. I think I could go either way. Um, uh, Indo-European languages are uh, particular in that all of the question words seem to be related, and we don't necessarily have to do that. Um, Let me pop out the chat actually, so that so that's the question that I will ask you guys. And I'll have three options here. So here's the question. Here's the thing. Question words. Okay. No. Let's do our poll. Let's go our question words. Same as indefinite pronouns. So just to let's actually make a table so that you guys understand what I'm talking about. Why is it insert table? Oh, because I had stuff highlighted. It's the same actually, right? So that one's the same in English. It's why is it's not even like a pronoun. I don't even know what the equivalent is. So yes, no, some of them. And we'll just have a poll to ask, like, we're going to have just how ambiguous our question's going to be. Some of them. And we will consider. Okay, we got a few more votes out. Let's see what people are saying. And meanwhile, I will be so like the most common thing is to have just a particle. Intonation, then verb morphology is like the third thing. Well, no. Actually, it's more common to have combinations of these once you get further, but verb morphology is the thing. And then a particle and intonation, that could be like, this feature literally just means intonation only. I will mention some issues that I had with the grant bank data. Like this clinic, I like coded this by myself because what happened was I was getting a whole lot of languages that had nothing for none of these features. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna go and check all of them. And you see, I did actually get a row with nothing. And I found a couple of things. The thing that's relevant here is I found that a lot of the ones that had none of those features mentioned in the notes that they were marked by a clinic. So I just added a category for clinic. I didn't go into the grammars and mark it properly. So it could be off a little bit in my calculation, but it's reasonably accurate. The other thing that I found that is not reflected here is I actually excluded marked by a tone, or not excluded, but I combined that with verb morphology because, like, and also excluded, and also combined. Did I combine? I just excluded anything that had both intonation and tone because a lot of things are a lot of the things we've got. I don't know if we're going to have, if it's going to matter so much, these last two votes. Anyway, they're also, pay attention if you're looking at Grand Bank because a lot of the ones that are marked as intonation and are marked as I forget which feature it is, but the one that says it's marked by a tone. A lot of the ones that are marked by a tone in Grand Bank are actually miscoded. They are actually intonation only. I looked at I was looking at that, and then I was looking at the list of languages marked as having questions marked by a tone, and I saw like Jamaican Creole. I'm like, Jamaican Creole is not tonal. so so I looked around and I sort of counted up all of the languages that I could verify are tonal languages, and there seemed to be quite a few miscodes. There is a thing on there in the Grand Bank like instructions that says make sure it's a tonal language, but that may have been added later. I'm gonna end the poll here, but so this is sort of my life when I'm trying to make dice tables based on public data. It's just that like sometimes it's messy, and because I'm sometimes getting into the small numbers of languages, that messiness can affect me because I'm getting into these edge cases where it might not matter so much when you're working with the aggregate data, but once you're in there and you're working with, okay, I have a category that has 10 languages, it suddenly matters that a bunch of them are miscoded. Anyway, so our answer was some of them. So let's get started figuring out how that's going to work. I'm gonna pull up like does World Lexicon of Grammaticalization have anything about question words? Because I kind of want to have an idea of where, if only some of them are different, I kind of want to have an idea of where they came from. Because like they could be an older one or an older indefinite or something like that. W question. Okay. Who, what, etc. Okay. How. Okay, this is how becoming something. That's interesting. Okay, this is a W question. Becoming an indefinite pronoun, so that could be something that we could start with. Is maybe some of them became the indefinite pronoun. Um, yeah. Um, function as relative pronouns, which we can deal with. This is all telling me about. So this is not telling me anything about the source of these. So we can get into um, we can just go to Wiktionary, or let's go clicks. Yeah. Um, yeah. Let's go. Let's actually, because there's definitely going to be maps of these. Let's just start looking at like what. There's a whole subgraph of what. So it's common for what and who and how and which all to be the same. What and thing. So, what if we interpret it this way actually? So, what if these two are the same? And like, oh, clicks? Okay, at some point, okay, at some point I need to make a video about clicks because people keep asking me about it. Somebody asked me, you know, I was Artifexian asked me about it when I was interviewing him, so that was interesting. But this is you can look up a whole bunch of basic concepts, and that one I'm not gonna worry about because that could be coincidental, and that could be a coincidental. Um, yeah. So it's a database of relationships between words in lots of different languages. And the cool thing about it is it arranges into these maps, or you can go, you look up what again, and you can go to the word itself, and you can just see like things that are related to it. And you can even go into specific languages and you can see things like, okay, well, this this is all the same family, right? And they look like they're all related, mostly. I don't know. That could be related to the rest of them, but I know that this is also related to the hua in the English ones. Um, these could all be related. These, mm, not sure about that. So then then we can think about, okay, but it's still pretty widespread for who and what to be colexified, right? So what if we do it this way, actually? So what if we have who and what got merged? there was a um, oh no, it's fine. It's fine. I'm happy to let people know what resources I use so that you can, you know, look at them and see if you want that. Um, so here's what I'm thinking is we're going to have a word for who and what, right? And that is going to be separate from someone and something. Okay? Which we can do like the English strategy for that, or we can do it somehow like one of these took over the meaning of the other. Okay? And that's where one of the differences comes from. Um, it makes sense to me that where and somewhere and when and sometime are two of our ones that are the same. And while we're at it, um, how and why are also going to be the same. I don't even know like what the I guess, and that's why I don't even know what if there's even an equivalent there. So here's what we have. So we're going to have one word that means both who and what. It probably can mean which too. Um, we're going to have a word for someone and a word for something that's separate from that. Then we're going to have where and somewhere are going to be the same word, and when and sometime are going to be the same word. And that's how we're going to work it. So let's go and get ourselves some roots to work with. And we can play around with those. We can see what patterns emerge. Okay. Now live on your channel. I know it's live on my channel. Okay. So go to Lexifer. And I'll do our regular thing of, since we're getting a bunch of words, let's generate 10 at a time. And we will okay. We will have that sorted out here. Go. So, pas, cut, a. Don't like a. Chi, pape, ape, asha, ihe. So let's actually plug all of these into Lexergy. Um, um, and this reminds me, I don't really know what aspirates do at the end in coda position. There's something I'm going to have to think about. Maybe we'll have a little revision section. I'm not going to do it just an this gra 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 pas kat ji babe abe ashe 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 we have and ihe. I think we're going to choose, I think, I think gra, bas, kat, and g. I think I'm going to have you guys vote on specifically what's going to mean what and who. And then from there, we're going to have some fun. So start a poll. Is our root for what, who? Okay. And between these four, I like all of them. So we'll just stick these four. And have a little bit of fun with that. Gra. So that the top one is pronounced gra. So it's gra, bas, kat, and g. 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 It should be G. Yeah. See how we have it. Oh, it's a dead heat. Nobody likes cat. Okay, let's get it decided. And from there, we're going to have someone and something and those. Oh. Got some more votes out. Let's get people in there. Make your voice heard. Let's see. Do I have any pre-existing word for some? No. I don't actually have a some. Thing I have ide, but I'm not sure if it works actually in the way that I want it to. I do have all. Ha means all. David, you campaigning there then? We know what David voted for. Let's see. uh, I'll leave it up for a couple more minutes. It's too close to call still. Um, Looking at, yeah, I don't have, yeah, I don't have a lot of. This will help me actually build our indefinite pronouns so that we have things sorted out. Um, okay. Let's see. Okay, at this point, given the people who are watching and the votes that are in, it's not going to matter. It's ended up being G. G. So our word for what, who, or which is G. And let me go ahead and get that recorded in the dictionary too. So G and it came from a D. Interesting that I had that possibility in there, but it's fine. And the pronunciation is going to be like this. G and pronoun what, who. Okay, so that's going to be this one, but I like all of these, so we're going to end up using all of them in some way. I do not want to go with English and make everything sort of related, so that's something I want to. Although I could have some interesting ideas. G. Let's look at some possibilities for some. So let's go to clicks, and we have concepts some. You don't have some. I don't really want to be doing any. Yeah. Oh, how many? Oh, that's something I'll have to figure out too. Some. Oh, there's some. We've got some. Some, few, how much, part, thing. Thing is interesting, and that's across a bunch of different, a few different language families. Thing is thing. Thing in Ndăkaga also means word, and that might get a little too weird. So I think I'm not necessarily going to go that way. This is an unspecified quantity of or number of. That's basically what I'm looking for. It looks like they're not that many concrete sources for some. Maybe thing and small would be the most concrete. Um, one that's got to be like, well, it's, I mean, Romance languages do this, but apparently there's, um, oh, that's one thing is that this is only this is skewed to like exact matches. We could go to something like that sem shifts that has some different, um, well, I don't like to look, just, I like to just search the meanings. Where's the search? Um, yeah, here we go. Some. How many and some. Puddle, hand, pile. Yeah, that's. Hmm. And we can always do the Wiktionary route. And Proto-Indo-European sem, one or a whole. Yeah, indefinite quantity or number. And then we can go with see where the Swahili word comes from. See where they. I mean, ECA is like a compound, but it's but we could look up where CA comes from. Okay, it doesn't have an etymology from Arabic. Okay. So I think I'm just going to assign a root for now, and then we can think about. So we can have a sum. So the thing about someone and something is that someone, so far the most generic term we have like agent is ga, which is dragon, but also um, other things that are in a similar category, like giant serpents, intelligent giant reptile thingies. Okay. Um, um, branch. So if we do a difference between someone and something, that's going to be where it is. And then also I may be thinking a little bit too much in English brain because they don't have to be compounds with some, right? They can be something different. What's our word for one? Cha. Yeah. I like this better. Okay, so this is not someone. This is some dragon. Chaga. And this is Chide, which is a combination of the cha and ide. So it's one chaga. Not to be confused with chaga, which would be one dragon, is chaga. Chaga. And then I'm still going to have a word for some just because I want to, because that's something that I need. So I'm going to grab one of these words that you didn't choose. And attach it. I think bus. I think I'll just have bus. 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 And is, where did it come from? I actually need to check it because it could be from, it's just bus, right? Okay. And so we have and what did I, okay, us, quantifier sum. So we do need that anyway. And then where and when are also going to be somewhere and somewhen. And I think we're going to use we're going to get this other root. I like gra. Gra and cut. I think I'm just going to use gra. What? That's the wrong keyboard. Gra and cut. Here, a noise you make when your mouth full. Okay, chaga. But so this is someone, but it only applies to dragons. It's called non-draconics. So like humanoids and stuff, they think of us as things. So let's get those all recorded. So chaga. IPA. Chaga. Some dragon. Well, I already have Topher. I already have one of the meanings of meat is as a derogatory term for humanoids. Yes. So this is D&D dragons. So like half of them are good and half of them are evil, but like they're all predatory, and none of them are going to have like a hugely big, good, strong view of humanoids because like humanoids, even the longest lived, like the elves live for 700 years, dragons live for thousands. So let's see here, and then Chide. Etymology. Cha plus ide. And this is and this is aspirated. Oh, I forgot the aspiration on this one. Chaka. It's not chaka, it's chaga. And yeah, that sounds right. And some of them care more about us than others, huh? Some of them will consider us a pest, and some of them will consider us something to be protected. Chide, something. Okay. And then we add gra. And that is it's good to have this be a frequent word when I am also creating a sister language because if you see, if I can pull up the right thing, gra it comes from gre. So we had this vowel change. So that's going to be notable when you look at a different language that maybe will do the vowels differently. So that's something interesting to have. Pronoun, and that is where, and then we get cot. Did I need to get this. cut. So this was oh man, I should have used that for a noun root. Well, we can probably have some derivations that'll show the fun of this being an actual non-transparent later on. And then this is going to be became cut, and pronoun when sometime, and this is also means somewhere. So that leaves us with these two, and I'm feeling like having derivatives or phrases for these, because it's pretty common for those to have some kind of a phrase. How about we come up with a couple more words, and let's actually pull new words now. Not really interested in. Let's just get 5 words. See if we see anything useful. Inta, akas, agus, upe, itya. Okay. I don't know what happens to consecutive vowels yet. I think these two. Let's see what they turn into. What? That's not what I wanted. What happened there? Okay. Let's go copy, paste, and oh, this is going to be unda, and this is going to be I don't know. Apply. Ugus. Okay. Unda and Ugus. And so here's what is going to be what Unda and Ugus are going to be what method and what reason. So here's what we're going to do. So let's say I think unda for method and ugis for reason. Ugis? What does ugis? What does ugis mean? Unda inta and this is actually a noun. Unda, and this will be a noun. So unda, ugis. I think this will be method, and we can. Oh gosh, actually, all of these. So, uh, I'm realizing that this, so, I don't need you. This, 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 these three are going to need a full paradigm of the noun inflections. We can just have them patterned as nouns rather than pronouns because it's going to be too weird. And this is, and at the same time, this is going to need noun inflections. So I'll just go ahead and do that one. So, well, oh, I need to, before I do that, I need to make the one for Ugis. Ugis? Ugis. Ugis. Is that how it's pronounced? Ugis. 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 Or, so, a note that I will make when I eventually like publish stuff about this language is that many humanoid wizards will actually round those back vowels if their native language isn't, if they're not familiar with unrounded back vowels from their native language. So some people might say ogis, ogis instead of ugis, ugis. That can be just a little note to players. And etymology is and this one means reason. So, and okay, I can fill in all of the paradigms later. For now, just to get this done, we can get to why I was making that. We can do the very basic compound this with this, and then we get they both start in a vowel. So that's lucky. So gender. Wait a minute. No. I'm not going to do it that way. So I'm going to take this inta, okay? This, the G came from this, right? Okay, I got a thing to do with this. Let's just, so we'll say that the vowel actually got deleted earlier by an irregular reduction. And then what happened? Gender. Still gender, huh? If this were inside the word, would it be different? Jinda. Okay. Yes, I'm going to say that this actually happened really early. Jinda and Jigis. There we go. There we go. So we have obfuscated just a tiny bit the origins of these. And so we end up with Jinda, Jinda. Etymology. I'm still gonna like treat it as coming from the modern words just to make it simpler on myself. Unda. So that's a technique you can do some playing around with. So just to note that playing around with when your affixes or your compounds got made can do quite a lot for like how they end up looking. Because if I had said, oh, if I had not done any reduction and made these come up like after whatever morphology change after this boundary was established, and then we do this, then we'd have Janda and Jugis, which is totally fine. Janda and Jugis totally works. But by saying, okay, number one, this got reduced, and saying these got integrated very early, so this is actually part of the word at the time that palatalized consonants are causing fronting, then I get this, which obfuscates the origin and gives us like a little bit of extra color there. And let me pull up, and then we have Jinda, so it's and I think this is what Jagis. All right. Jagis. Okay. And there we end up with the pronunciation is Jagis. And that's why. Okay, so that's and we can go later on. I can figure out like what is the word for how many and all of that. I don't think I'm going to go deep into that, but this will get me. It's not going to be. I don't really need to. I will come up with example sentences, but just so you know, these are just going to go in the same place as the noun in the same case with the same case marking. Um, yeah, question words are left in situ, but we have that. Okay. So we got like a half hour, and I wanted to at least roll the dice on another construction. Um, we're we're kind of filling out some last bits of like syntax work that we will need to have a fully fleshed out language. Um, and uh, one thing that we will need for that is like not fully fleshed out, but fully functional language. So one of the things, let's see, we can do that in a bit. Let's go with our relative clauses, and we'll just exclude this if we can't roll more than 100. Um, these are different um, rare types of relative clauses that can be had, and it's it's surprising me that I did not put any notes there. I must have like rerun that. So relative clause. So this is okay. So let's go. Let's go. We've got internally headed, correlative, and non-adjacent. It's kind of unusual to have any of those. Obviously, but we will roll dice and see if one of these makes it into the language. So let's roll. We've got a 98. With a 98, okay, we got internally headed relative clauses and correlative relative clauses. So let's go look those up so that I can show you what's going to happen with that. That's the that's the fun of the dice is you just run into like random things to add to your language. And let's see. So let's go to Grand Bank and GB. So with that, I got, okay, 98 is GB 329 and GB 330. So GB 329 first. Are there internally headed relative clauses? What is an internally headed relative clause, you may ask? So it means, can a relativized noun be morphosyntactically part of the relative clause? This could mean different things in different languages. In some languages, the relativized noun may literally be inside the relative clause in terms of placement. So, for example, a green hat the woman has is tall, to mean the woman who has a green hat is tall. In other languages, the noun may receive case marking for its function inside the relative clause rather than its function inside the main clause. For example, the man subject greeted the woman subject who has a green hat. So she gets a subject marker for being the subject of this sentence rather than for this, as opposed to the man subject greeted the woman object who has a green hat. Okay. Now, we have some examples here. So here you got father getting an ergative marking. It's not really, that's not really great examples because it's not embedded into a sentence. Here, Hidatsa has a good example here. So, Mary quilt relative make determined by. So, here I bought and the quilt is in here embedded in this clause here, right? So I bought the quilt that Mary made here. So instead of I bought the quilt that Mary made, it's I bought that Mary made the quilt. And you sort of understand that quilt is what you are referring to. It also has intransitive internally headed. So, see, the woman saw the man, and then the man that sang saw the woman. So, the man sees, and then woman see. You see, it's all embedded into that. So we have that. Now we also are supposed to need to build in this one. There relative clauses that require an anaphoric pronoun in the main clause. Okay, the woman who has a green hat, she is tall. So you've got this. You can have can be called like resumptive pronouns, something like that. So here's the thing. These two can work together, right? Because so let me just check here. Inside the relative clause, arguments for considering a relative clause internally headed. So the question here, if it were just internally headed relative clauses, right? Then I could say, okay, we have both tripartite case marking and indexing on the verb. We could go with having it marked for the case it is in the relative clause and being done with that. And that would work. But we have this and this. And because we have both of them, I'm actually thinking, and I'm kind of wonder if this is how it tends to go when you have both of them. So let's but what I'm thinking is that we can put the noun inside the relative clause and have a pronoun outside that agrees with it. So let me actually just double check. Okay. Am I doing 329 and 330? Okay. So let me just check on that actually for languages that have both. Wow. Ancient Greek had it, huh? Just get a sampling and see if that makes sense with and see if we find any notes that have that. Okay, No notes on ancient Greek. Seems to be a very rare construction. So we don't have to have relative clauses always work this way. That's another point to have. Okay. Seems like people are not liking to leave notes on this. I'll just check a few more, and then if we don't have notes, then I'll just go with my idea. Okay, so let's just get an example going so that we can have a sense of how this is constructed. So, relative clauses. I did not roll on where relative clauses occur because that can be affected by the things that we just did. And since we've ended up with a language that is pretty strongly head final, I think we can go with relative clauses precede what they modify, but with the internal head, that's going to mean something a little bit different. So, let's go, and I need a heading two. Yeah, okay. So, let's come up with an example. How about this? I saw the dragon who eats humanoids. Okay. All right. So, ga. So what we're going to have is, let's make sure that we have all of our things. So we have ga. And it's very fun trying to find a very simple word in this dictionary because of the way search ends up working. Do I not have ga in here? I should have it. Dragon. Ga. Here we go. Ga. And so it should be ergative. So I saw a dragon that eats humanoids. Well, it's in Draconic. It could be a dragon who's saying this, right? Gadi. And eat. I think it is chate. Chita. So let's go with Obachitenge. And let me translate this to the correct. I need to change and this is actually not this, it's is that right? Let me double check. It's Chitange. Yeah, okay. Gadi Achitange. Achitangeha. I will do the gnomic aspect on that one. Gadi Achitangeha. And let's not have a relative marker. I think we'll have enough to not need that. But let's go to our pronouns. Best. We need the accusative, right? No. Wait. How does C work? C is weird about Ichi. Right. So. Okay. So I've got a question for y'all. How do you feel about objects of prepositions? Should they take the nominative or the accusative case when they are the object of a preposition? Let's see. Well, this can apply to nouns too. No. Okay, so for nouns we did nominative already. You know what? I think it fits for it to just be nominative. So I think oh, and I forgot the word for humanoid. So let's go humanoid. Nubel. Nubelbe. Nubelbe. No. Nubae. Nubae. Yeah. Depends on where the preposition comes from. That's true. And I didn't really think about they're not prepositions, they're postpositions. I suppose they could come from verbs. So let's. But do they come from a transitive verb? Let me think about actually. So C. It's gonna be age. Away from. So I think okay. I think do I have something that means leave already? Yeah, I don't have anything that means leave already. I'm gonna leave myself a note there, and that will inform that this one will take an accusative. So then we go up here. So we want ubesp. Ubesp. Ubisp Agu. And then let's see. Yeah. Although I've already used nominative in other places. But I think that's okay. Well, for nouns it can take nominative. I've only done it with nouns before. And because of the wonkiness of tripartite alignment, then having tripartite and nominative accusative in the split there, I think we can go with the accusative in pronouns. Something I can think about. But it's ichi, and gichi. I'm gonna make this a perfective. Gichi cha. Okay. So, to get at what's going on here, let's make this. Let's highlight. Let's highlight this part and this part. I probably should have used a different verb so I didn't have to deal with the weirdness. So here's what we're doing. And this may not be the only way to form relative clauses. I might also have some that are just externally headed. But at least in one way, you see this is both internally headed and correlative. So what we have here is, in English we have, I saw the dragon who eats humanoids. Here what we have is dragon, humanoid, eat. He, or he, she, they, whichever one, I saw. So the actual noun is inside of the relative clause, but there's a resumptive pronoun that tells you where it is in the sentence. And this might end up with making sentences a bit long, but remember this can be deleted. We might consider situations where this can be deleted. But this is like the formal full form of a relative clause is putting the noun inside the relative clause and a resumptive pronoun outside. This is kind of a rare structure, but it is a possible one, and I think it works. We can. Do we have a simpler attack slash? We have slash. Yeah, kiche. Gukichibe. We can actually this is a better example. If we change the verb to this, then we don't have to worry about the postposition, and that's a much more straightforward translation. I slashed the dragon who eats human. I saw a dragon. Okay, let's say a dragon, and then this one we'll just say got the if, and this is but you guys get the picture. This is just going to be how, and this also allows some flexibility, which will be helpful for us because we don't have. I believe we rolled early on that there is no passive, no anti-passive, no way to move constituents around. If we have internally headed relative clauses, then um, then we don't need to worry about the we don't need to worry about what happens whether we need to restrict to subjects or not because it's going to be in the sentence in the place in the relative clause in the place where it should be and have its case marking and show us exactly what role it is. So it's very easy to just allow this language to relativize anything. Um, and I think that's the way I'm going to do it since I don't have any valency changing operations that would allow me to work with a restriction. So there we go. Gade if nube achitangeha achitangeha ubes gukichbe gukichbe. All right. So that's our relative clauses basically figured out. And like later on I can think about like when these elements can be omitted. Definitely we can omit this element in some cases. Um, but it's going to be more like a pragmatic rule than anything else. Okay. Anything. Okay. We're coming up on the end. The last thing I will probably do next week is um, I'm going to do, let's see, we need to have some stuff on subordinate clauses figured out. That's something I will work on next week. Um, there's some specialized constructions like comparative constructions we might want to figure out. Um, I think we've done some things with comparative. We know that there is a comparative form of adjectives already, and a comparative like marker like more. Um, but we can flesh out what the construction is on this. But we need subordinate clauses, and I think subordinate clauses, and then then we can have just specialized constructions like the comparative, like time constructions, like time expressions, like those kinds of things. But we're mostly in a place where this language is going to be kind of functional, minus having enough vocabulary because we don't. Let's see, how many words do we have now? We'll just check real quick. We've got we got 146 words, and that's actually including a bunch of affixes. Probably want to get that up to around 500 before we start doing stuff with it. But that's all. A lot of that is making words is development that I do in the background mostly. So that's something. So I think once we do subordinate clauses and maybe comparative construction, and maybe we'll do some time constructions on stream. We'll have to see. Then we can start moving into other things. I decide, the name of the series is Tongues and Runes. I'm going to do writing. I am currently, and this may turn into a poll on. How about we'll say this is what can turn into a poll on the Patreon. So the thing is, I have two ideas for like the aesthetic of the script. It's not going to work like these systems necessarily, but the aesthetic. I was thinking about like in terms of implements, you've got claws, right? Is there? Yeah, there's Ogham. Okay. So when you think about scripts that you could write with your own claws as a dragon, there's two things that come to mind. One is you could press your claw. Well, that's. Can I see? Okay. You could press your claw into a soft medium and you could get something like cuneiform. It wouldn't look exactly like cuneiform because it's going to be a different shape than the end of the reed. But like if you think about the curved part of the claw going into something, into clay, then that's kind of the shape that I would be thinking of. The other is you can just scratch things, and then you would end up with something like Ogham, which was used to write Irish. If you can work out specific patterns of scratches to represent phonetic characters, then that could be very easy to scratch out messages where you want to. And I'm in between those two possibilities. One thing is like if I go the Ogham route, it's going to be really difficult to make an Ogham an Ogham inspired script that doesn't look exactly like Ogham to the untrained eye, because like 100% this is like what you can do when you have scratches on stone. Like I don't know how else you do it, right? Whereas like it's going to be a different shape than the cuneiform strokes, and you can achieve a lot of different variation in shapes with this. Whereas this is you got a diagonal stroke and a horizontal stroke or a vertical stroke, and that's mostly where you're going. So, but this looks a lot more like something that you would make by scratching claws on something. So I will work up a poll. I have. Should I show you guys this? Wow. Okay. That's okay. That's not giving me what I want. Here we go. Okay. I have done a script inspired by creatures that will scratch into it. But this aesthetic doesn't really do it for me anymore. I don't really think this is like realistic for like scratching into things. Because it's very fiddly, especially when you talk about dragons. This is for creatures that are much smaller than dragons. Maybe they would have more fine control, but a big old dragon, yeah, I don't think so. Um, so it's kind of in between a more Ogam aesthetic or a more cuneiform inspired aesthetic, and we can do a poll for that. The other thing is, since I'm close to the end, um, I'm going to go ahead and put up a poll sometime this weekend to ask you guys what the next language will be. Um, Remember, I am doing the basically the spellcasting languages for D&D. So we've got to do Celestial, Infernal, um, Abyssal, um, Sylvan, maybe Primordial, maybe not. And um, I'm thinking that Celestial, Infernal, and Abyssal will all be from the same language family, but maybe different levels of innovation. Like Celestial would be the most conservative of the family, and then Abyssal would be like wacky, well, the wacky branch. Because of course the chaotic people changed the language much more. That's an idea, but I think this is where we're going to wrap it up for now. Next time we'll do we will be heading off to do subordinate clauses, and you know, whenever we get the language finished to my satisfaction, then we will move on to writing system, and then I probably do a little bit of work on poetry rules before the final episode will be, and the final, maybe a month from now, maybe 2 months from now, is going to be translating the wizard cantrips, maybe wizard and sorcerer cantrips, or not translating, but just writing the incantations. And I just have some work to do before I get to that point. But thank you all for watching, and happy conlaying.